Hey, Insomniacs, you're watching World News Now.
Sleep is overrated.
This morning on World News Now, gathering dust. That's what millions of dollars in airport security equipment is doing inside of a warehouse.
And that's raising questions about whether everything possible is actually being done to stop terror attacks. It's Wednesday, May 9th.
From ABC News, this is World News Now.
Getting over that hump.
That's right.
Yes, indeed. Good morning, everybody. I'm Rob Nelson.
And I'm Sunny Hostin. A report being released today will detail what kind of terror-fighting machines are in mothballs, not doing anything to keep Americans safe and continue threats from al-Qaeda.
Weird story here. A warehouse full of equipment not being used. There's been some progress getting those things out, and they blame it on some manufacturing issues and smaller airports not being ready to accommodate the equipment, but still.
But clearly we need them.
Yeah, you don't want to see stuff like that, particularly considering the news of this week.
Exactly.
Not being used. Also this half hour, our roundup of the voting from around the nation. Very interesting politics at play the last 24 hours. One long-serving Republican senator is now looking toward his next challenge after losing a primary battle. On top of that, the big story today, voters in North Carolina take a stand against gay marriage. All the results coming up.
Plus, one state's effort against bake sales, those most popular fundraising events for everything from school trips to Little League teams. It's all in the name of eating healthier, or so they say.
We all grew up with bake sales.
You need a bake sale.
Yeah, no, everyone loves a bake sale, but the obesity problems perhaps claiming another victim in a major city.
Well, then have a gluten-free bake sale or a healthy bake sale. Don't get rid of the bake sales. I like the bake sales.
We still need to have our gluten-free taste-off.
I'm into
We're going to do that before you leave the show this week. And you may not know his name, but you likely will recognize his face. Mr. Punch, the puppet who's been stirring up trouble for centuries. He is celebrating a big birthday these days.
Gosh, I remember that.
But first, we actually do have some breaking news this morning as the FBI is investigating security threats at two airports out west. Agents were on the ground at Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport. That's where a Southwest Airlines plane had been taken to an isolated area. That aircraft is now on its scheduled flight to Tulsa, Oklahoma after being cleared.
And they're also investigating a threat at John Wayne Airport in suburban Los Angeles. The plane in question was heading to Phoenix when a call came in about explosives or hazardous materials.
The incidents came as a new report calls into question how the TSA is spending millions of safety equipment it never uses. Weird. Here's ABC's Jim Avila with more.
A nondescript TSA warehouse in Dallas. Inside, ABC News has learned America's best weapons against al-Qaeda's bomb of choice. Hundreds of baggage scanners, explosive detection systems, and in this wooden crate, the latest bomb-detecting scanners, sitting idle, never used, all in storage for more than 9 months, some more than a year, while nearly 300 airports across the country go unprotected by the newest, best bomb-scanning technology.
There are airports around America that really don't realize that in Dallas, Texas, there are huge amounts of this equipment sitting in excess.
A congressional investigation concludes that the TSA is not only wasting $184 million by not deploying security equipment, it is warehousing the one device that can actually detect a non-metallic plastic explosive. When Congress asked why, the report says the TSA told them they ordered extras to get a discount and had no specific plan to deploy.
Obviously, the point of having advanced screening technology is to get it out to the field. It's not a museum relic.
ABC News has learned FBI agents plan to make a replica of the newly recovered underwear bomb and send it through airport security, testing Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano's statement.
All things considered, yes, in a high likelihood it would have been detected.
The TSA touts a layered approach, starting with intelligence from the CIA and FBI, pre-screening of who is flying, looking for the overly nervous, body and luggage scanning, and 700 randomly deployed canine patrols trained to sniff out explosives of all kinds. But dogs are not a fail-safe because of a high number of false positives.
No one of these things is a magic solution, but taken together, they reduce the risk very substantially of a successful attack.
The Department of Homeland Security says it's working hard to deploy those machines. It's just waiting for local small airports to make room for them. Jim Avila, ABC News, New York.
There are new details this morning on that double agent who foiled an al-Qaeda bomb plot. Before the attack had a chance to succeed, the agent working for the CIA delivered the bomb intact to U.S. intelligence. The FBI is still analyzing the explosive, which was intended to be concealed in a passenger's underwear. We could learn much more later today when the FBI's director holds a briefing.
Another form of attack has terror officials worried. For the past 6 months, an unidentified group of hackers has been mounting an ongoing coordinated cyber attack on the control systems of U.S. gas pipelines. Now, according to U.S. officials, it's still unclear if a foreign power is trying to map those gas systems or if hackers are attempting to harm the pipelines themselves. Scary news all around on security. But get this, I saw this and this kind of freaked me out. The agency responsible for protecting government whistleblowers says a disproportionately high number of tips come from employees of the FAA. And in a letter sent to the White House today, the U.S. Office of Special Counsel highlighted 7 cases that they believe illustrate an ongoing problem of inadequate responses from the FAA and its governing authority, the Department of Transportation. So a lot of these tips are coming about the group that governs our airline and sky safety. That's unnerving to me.
That is very unnerving. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So, those whistleblowers are coming out, and a lot of the info is coming out about your safety and mine on those planes. So.
And you know how much I love to fly.
We know you're a big fan of the friendly skies, right? All right, another big political story this morning. North Carolina voters have overwhelmingly approved a constitutional amendment defining marriage as a union between a man and a woman only. The amendment not only bans same-sex marriages, it also means civil unions and other domestic partnerships will no longer be recognized by the states. So this law goes further than just a simple ban on gay marriage. President Obama says he is, quote, disappointed, saying such a ban is divisive.
And veteran Senator Richard Lugar was unable to fend off a challenge from the Tea Party, and he has lost Indiana's Republican primary.
Lugar is one of the Senate's longest-serving members, holding his seat since 1977. President Obama praised Lugar for his willingness to reach across the aisle and get things done. And facing no real challenges, Mitt Romney easily won the Republican primaries in Indiana, North Carolina, and West Virginia as well. He picked up about 100 of the 288 delegates he still needs to officially clinch the nomination. That magic number is still 1144. Even Romney didn't pay much attention to these 3 particular contests. He spent most of the day stumping across Michigan. So now just a matter of simple math. It's done.
It's just a matter of time.
These are formalities
That's
at
right.
this point, yeah.
Well, the hunt continues this morning for 2 Tennessee girls and the family friend accused of abducting them and killing their mother and older sister.
Grisly story. Hundreds of people gathered for a vigil last night to pray for Joanne Bain and her 3 daughters, ages 14, 12, and 8. And now we will have surveillance video of the suspect, Adam Mays, seen chatting with the Mississippi store clerk just days after the disappearance. Mays' wife and mother were both charged yesterday in connection with the abduction. This becoming a family affair now. Yeah.
Another former top aide to John Edwards is back on the stand today in his corruption trial. Yesterday, the former speechwriter testified Edwards acknowledged knowing that a wealthy donor was secretly supporting his pregnant mistress, Rielle Hunter. The prosecution is expected to wrap up its case by tomorrow, though it's still unclear whether Ms. Hunter will testify.
Other big trial news. Closing arguments are set to begin later this morning in the murder case against Jennifer Hudson's former brother-in-law. Attorneys for William Balfour rested their case yesterday after calling 2 police detectives as witnesses. Balfour is charged with killing Hudson's mother, brother, and her 7-year-old nephew. We were talking about this before he went on the air. The defense, their case lasted 30 minutes. Prosecutors spent 2 weeks putting their side of the case. So, I mean, that's not a white flag. What is?
Yeah, I didn't understand that. I mean, typically when you have someone on trial really for their life and for their liberty,
for triple murder.
A triple murder, you want to see some sort of aggressive defense mounted. And I thought going into the trial, the prosecution didn't have a slam dunk case. Very little forensic evidence. Jurors like that CSI effect. There were missing fingerprints and blood evidence, but 30-minute defense, I say, wow.
2 weeks versus 30 minutes. I don't know. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think the jury may convict in this case based upon a weak defense.
A very weak defense.
Seems interesting turn of events, but justice for the family, perhaps. That's the good part.
Well, a warning now about some graphic surveillance video of a hit-and-run accident, which may be disturbing to some of you. The good news is everyone is okay.
That is good. 3 pedestrians scrambling across an intersection in Buffalo. Keep an eye on the right. That's when a fast-moving car hits hits one of them. The victim goes flying literally through the air. The car drives away without stopping. Police say thanks to the video, though, they were able to catch and arrest the driver just a short time later. That's the second kind of video like that we've seen this week. The other one, the guy got out on the highway and got bounced all around. Now this. Those guys are lucky to be alive. And they got the driver, which is even better news.
Goodness. Well, more than a year after Japan's devastating tsunami, a mountain of debris is descending on the Alaskan coastline.
This is crazy footage. These pictures capture just a fraction of, get this, the 1.5 million tons of trash from that disaster, some potentially toxic, drifting our way at about 4 miles an hour. Cleanup crews are now getting hazmat training, preparing to pitch in to save those beaches. They say the size of this debris field is bigger than the state of California, all moving toward us from that tsunami earthquake more than a year ago.
More than a year ago. It's remarkable. All the way, in Japan, from Japan.
Over to us.
Over to us. Well, here's your Wednesday weather. Flooding and heavy rain from Detroit to New England and the entire East Coast. Much of the same along the Gulf Coast to El Paso and the Southern Rockies. Mostly dry, but pretty windy in the Pacific Northwest and Northern Rockies.
57 in Seattle, 82 in Boise, 92 in Phoenix, mostly 60s from Fargo to Detroit. A wet 66 in Beantown, 73 here in New York, 80s from Miami to Dallas.
Well, two extremes in one story now, simply because we do plenty of animal stories here on World News Now, which Rob loves, and we don't do so many stories about soccer.
So let's get a bit of both right here, thanks to an English soccer fan who brought a chicken to the match. The other night, it was a game between the teams from Blackburn and Wigan. How do you say that, Jack? Wigan. And the chicken was dressed to support Blackburn, though.
And ultimately, it was caught, as you see, and carried off. And it wasn't really any help because Blackburn lost. But I got to tell you, I like the chicken outfit. I like the whole chicken thing.
I was quite a soccer star back in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, back in my early teens. I have to say, so I feel for that. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Big star in the Green Tree Recreational League.
That's a fun
star.
fact.
Isn't it? Yeah.